Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah. Good evening and welcome to Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. This is the show where all of the questions and all of the answers come together and they completely ignore each other.
Sounds like typical, yeah. I mean,
I was going to say,
I
tangent.
think it's great to be back. We haven't done a show in a couple weeks.
We haven't. It's been a while. We've been busy, doing things like seeing how many digits below zero we can get, and then how long we could stay below zero with our temperatures. That's exciting
but it's
stuff.
been such a mild winter. This doesn't even really bother me. I mean, it's been such a mild winter that I'm kind of like, hey, we get a week of minus 20, so what? Minus 27 we had the other day, whatever,
And when it starts in February, it's a different story than if it starts in, let's say December 10th.
Exactly.
And they're like, when's it going to warm up? Oh, June. We've had those winters.
Oh, yeah. And it seems so far away. Here, I'm like, you know what? I feel like in so many ways, that things are thawing. Even though it's a really cold week this week, I just feel like in so many ways, we're deploying over 1 million vaccines a day. They're saying now that's even going to become more efficient. They're going to add pharmacies, and Pfizer's reducing the amount of time it takes them. So I feel like not only is the weather, like you can sort of see spring right around the corner, but I feel like the same for our industry. Like, spring is coming, in a literal and a metaphorical sense, just right around the corners. Like I just feel it. And I think other people can too. I had a guy message me today and he said, is it just me or does it feel like things are picking up? And I said, no, they are. Right? We've got a ton of potential concert dates all of a sudden. And it's just been, one, it's kind of validating. It's nice. It's kind of nice to be validated for the things that we were saying last year. But this kind of what we're seeing is some of the things that I had hoped would be true, that all of a sudden it's like a spring that is under tension. It's about to snap. I think things are going to really get busy fast when they get busy. In fact, we're starting to consider maybe having a bit of a staff crisis, because we've got people wanting multiple concerts or festivals on a date. It's kind of like, oof.
Yeah.
Figure out who goes where and who does what. And,
exactly. And I think those are going to be good struggles, but I think those are going to be struggles as we go forward, even in the DJ industry, as we're talking to different people and venues and such. Venues aren't seeing anything yet because they're kind of they're going to be the last ones in this whole thing. But the wedding calls are coming in, and people are planning and putting things out there. It's just they're doing it in their backyard. So now instead of needing my 4 18-inch subs and my big tops, I just need my 2 Evolves, and I've got the whole backyard covered.
You always need 4 18-inch subs.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm sure the neighbors would love that. Of course, I could just turn those ETX and I can put them in cardioid, and then the bass will stay in that yard.
Boom, boom.
Yeah. So yeah,
you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's interesting. And talking to Jerry Bizzata today, we recorded an updated version of the PPP, which is going to drop tomorrow for you guys out there on DJ and TV land. But he's talking. We ended the show kind of discussing the economic side of things, what he's seeing out in his neck of the woods, which is out in the Massachusetts and Maine and that part of the country, New England area. And he's hearing a lot of optimism from different businesses that are starting to say, hey, we know it's going to be, we got another 3 months. It'll be a little tight. But after that, things are looking very promising, and they're preparing for third and fourth quarter of 2021. And then, of course, 2022, they're thinking that travel and the leisure industry and the hospitality industry, it's going to be off the hook next year. So
I think so, because I'm beginning to feel it, and I'm a guy who travels more than most people I know. Somebody joked that I flew as much as a flight attendant, which is not true. I know I have a friend who's a flight attendant, and they've got me beat. But, I really enjoyed this reprieve. Like I had said, a few months ago, I enjoyed kind of getting off the road a little bit. I'm starting to feel like, yeah, it's time to go. It's time to get back out there. I'm looking forward. There's some shows and things coming up, and trade shows that hopefully will happen, and hopefully it's safe to do that, and a lot of things that have to fall into place yet. But I think that if I'm getting ready, if I'm feeling like I want to do business travel again, I think leisure travel is going to be. I think there's a lot of people that are ready to get out.
Very much.
I'm one of them. Like I said, I haven't left this room and other than to eat or sleep. I'm ready to get out. So.
Yes, especially out of Minnesota when and we circle back to 20 some below. We get some folks with us tonight. Thank you for joining us, Howie and Robin and JC, John, Freddie. Thank you much for joining us this evening. Jesse.
This was Freddie's topic, I think, wasn't it?
So, I think it was Freddie's topic, as a matter of fact. Tonight we're going to kind of do a lighter show. We were going to do the battery show that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks. It will come. We will get it. Don't worry. But it's going to be down. It'll probably be next week or the week after, whatever works out for us here. And for those,
I got to figure out a good way to do that. I got to figure out a way to actually make it meaningful and educational. So we get that around.
Yeah, we need time to talk about that one because I had some ideas on this one. It involves flux capacitors and banana peels.
Great.
That's another story for another.
What's a gigawatt?
So for tonight's show, we're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl halftime because that's been a big topic, and of course, getting Ben's insight to those things is always kind of cool and fun. For those wondering, why we have been back and forth is that this is now basketball season, and I have children who are in basketball for the first time at a level in which it interferes with the showtime. So some weeks it works that we'll be able to make it, and some weeks it just doesn't work out for us. So we apologize for that. Once we get past basketball season, there's going to be a time where we'll be able to get some more in there, and we'll make it work. But this is part of that balance of doing our DJ things, our business things, and the family things. And if you haven't heard us talk about that, we hit it once or twice in the shows.
And if you don't know, John was quite a player back in the day, and I don't mean like player. I mean he was a basketball player. He was quite a stud on the court, as I understand.
Yeah, we did some. We've had the basketball thing and the track thing and the football thing, and now if I can just get up out of the chair without doing the, I'm happy.
I understand.
That Dr. Rick, what is it? I think the progressive or whatever. He can't stop you from becoming your parents, and he's like, "Did you guys hear that?" When he got up out of the chair when he sat down, I'm thinking to myself, "Oh."
I feel like this is a great segue to make a public apology, because I was talking to Rachel Lynch, who needs no introduction. Everybody knows Rachel Lynch, and she's a great friend, and we're having a great conversation. But I feel like I owe her a public apology, because I did not realize today was National Pizza Day, and I'm not even sure she's talking to me anymore. But
I'm thinking that poor girl was bombarded today with. It's like a holiday.
I didn't even know. I'm so oblivious. And somehow we got on the topic of the good old days. She was in sports in school, and I was a wrestler. 100 years ago. Wore fig leaves or whatever. And she said, "Do you think you'd be any good today?" I think that's exactly how she said, "Do you think you'd be any good today?" And I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "I would break a hip." Yeah. I said, "No, I would not be good today."
I get tangled up in the ropes, man. Oh wait, no, that's
not only do I not have the strength or the air, that it would take to do that. I just simply don't have the flexibility. Yeah. I mean, just the very act of trying to wrestle, I would get hurt, seriously injured. Never mind that I'm not strong enough or have enough endurance. I would be permanently broken.
That's the sad reality of turning 27. So, Ben, let's talk a little bit about Super Bowl. For those of you who were, this past weekend there was this football game, whatever. But there was a halftime show.
There was a food festival here at the Stowe household. I'll tell you what. This is the first time we've watched the Super Bowl at our house in 20 years, because we have some great friends who throw a Super Bowl party every year.
Yeah.
And, that's their thing, and they do a great job of it. And we go every year and have for over 20 years. But this year we stayed home. It's just the four of us, and man, we cooked, and it was fantastic. I felt a little gluttonous, but it was the best part of the day.
Inquiring minds want to know what was on the menu.
Oh, you know what? Since our viewers know every other intimate detail of my life anyway, why not? Let me let's find some photos here, because I took them. Oh, you better believe I took them. I think. Let's. I actually created a photo album. For
Super Bowl food.
No, I didn't do that. But I created a photo album for quarantine things. So, because I think that I'm just going to pull some pictures up here real quick.
Yeah.
But I think, there's so many things we were able to do this year that in a normal year, I would not be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to go back and take some pictures of those kinds of things and sort of recognize that opportunity and, kind of categorize these things a little bit.
Okay, Ben, I got a question that just popped in. Somebody had was wondering if you're still, because I remember, it's been probably 6 months ago. You posted a picture that you were doing some workouts with your son, and they're wondering if you're still doing that, and if so, how they're going. I think this must be because of you talking about being old.
Yeah, a little bit. They are. We actually just got a new coat rack. A piece of gym equipment, but it'll be a coat rack. We just got one of those, and it involves some wide arm pull-ups, and discovered I can't do one anymore. And I used to be able to do like 30, but that was also about 30 years ago. Anyway, and my, it's going, it's, he keeps me, he cheers me on and doesn't make me feel quite so old,
So Howie, you're still safe for a little while yet. Oh.
Yeah, I knew it was Howie that asked. But would I really tell the truth? No, I want to. I want Howie to underestimate me. I don't want him to see this freight train coming.
Yeah, it's kind of that rope-a-dope thing going on here.
Exactly. I was just going to say it's like the old rope-a-dope,
Yeah,
All right, so some food picks for you here.
Yes.
So we'll delay talking about the audio of the Super Bowl as long as we can. So we made some pot stickers. Let's see. Why can't I advance this photo? Oh no!
It's the only one up.
Yeah, I know. Hang on a second. Sorry. I think I locked up my photo app.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's very unhappy.
It's not playing nicely.
Spinning beach ball.
Oh well, that happens once in a while. So while Ben's getting those up, we'll be getting into the Super Bowl things in just a little bit and have some fun with that. Tonight's again a light show, so you guys are just kind of hanging for the ride. Once we're done, then you can go to DJNTV.com/chill, and Brian and Jay are going to be holding court here. And I used to say that they were going to be doing a show and such, but I really think holding court, especially when Jay's there, it really is more apropos. I really have to. So they'll be going on tonight at DJNTV.com/chill. Takes you right to the Zoom meeting, and they'll be going on at 10 o'clock tonight Eastern, which will be in about 45 minutes. So, any luck, Ben?
I'm going to have to try to force quit this. It really tanked.
Oh my goodness.
So. Let's see. And of course.
So did you get to watch the game or did you just eat?
No, I watched the game. Okay. I did.
I
actually know one of the, I always would say kid, but I know one of the young men playing in the game, and I'm not going to say who or any of that, but, just pretty excited for him. And
well, that could be anybody north of Tom Brady, pretty much, because, they're all younger than you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, Tom Brady might be I'm actually older than Tom Brady. He's the only guy close to my age, but
so basically it's the coaching staff is the only thing everyone else
pretty much.
Yeah, except the grounds crew guy, he's 90 something, so you're still good there.
But no, it was I wanted to watch it. I have friends in both cities, and you're two dynamic quarterbacks and two fantastic teams, and obviously it didn't go the way that one team wanted, but I mean it was a game I was definitely going to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So all right,
of course we're
going to do this way.
Okay.
What is this thing doing now? Oh my. All right. Well, let's try this, John. Let's.
This is our first time of being live, by the way. We're learning how to live stream, so.
Yeah, it's not like we've done this show for 6 years, although we didn't used to do it live. All right, so we started out with like well, now this isn't working. There we go. So we're making like some pot sticker wonton looking thingies.
Yeah, nice.
And this is way out of order. Hold on now. Well, that's chicken.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the chicken. So they turned out really good, actually. I was pretty happy with how those turned out.
Mm-hmm. Looking good.
I'm going to stop the screen share a minute and figure out. You'd have thought I could have prepared for this a little bit, right?
Well,
I had these all in order.
Trevor, I'd offer some tech advice, but I always ask Ben.
I didn't know we were going to be talking about the food. I'm sorry. That's
Roger, never been a computer pro. No, it's tough to be good looking and good with a computer. And that's, where Ben's at right now. So we'll go.
Exactly. I'm just the eye candy around here. Yeah. So,
Right. Brian and Jay coming up at 10 o'clock. Thanks, Robin. So, Ben, commercials. The commercials are always a big part of the show. We'll get to the food part. If you could pick
up for me real quick.
Yeah, favorite commercial. Which one stood out to you?
I actually didn't see too many of the commercials because I was actually running upstairs to get more food. And I was, I discovered why I go to my friends' parties because I was so busy, trying to be involved in the cooking process that I kind of had to take off during the commercials. So
the night there was the night before Super Bowl was one that I missed. I don't know how I managed to miss that one. I think I was doing the same thing as running back and forth. Yeah, getting Cheetos. Thanks, Roger. Actually, no, they were Dots. There's the Dots pretzels, which is something that's in the upper Midwest.
Oh yeah, those are good. Yeah.
And now they've come out with Dots cheese curls or cheese whatever it is. So they're basically like Cheetos, but they're flavored with the Dots stuff, and it's like they're really really good. So that's what I was getting for the kids. So it wasn't Cheetos, but it was close, very close.
All right, let's try this a third time, shall we? So the pot sticker things, those turned out really good. And then we made some hot wings. My son breaded all these, and they turned out fantastic.
Now, how did you deep fry those then?
I did, yeah. We actually, which is a very rare thing around here, but it was sort of a clone of the Hooters recipe. And laugh all you want, but I really do go to Hooters for the wings. So I thought they were very good. They turned out really good. So crispy and then tossed in a hot sauce. My wife does not like them, so they made some baked chicken of some other kind. And my daughter recycled these Elf sugar cookies that we'd had in the freezer, or from Christmas or whatever. She recycled those, put some brown frosting on them, and made them into football cookies. Oh. And I thought it was pretty clever. Yeah. They turned out really good.
Nice.
And then for halftime, we made some fresh guacamole and some macho nachos that turned out amazing. So
excellent.
I was a hurting unit for all of Monday after that.
It's tough to be romantic after eating a plate of nachos. I'm just going to say, yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't know. I don't even try to be romantic. So
I'm just going to say it. Sometimes it's like, this is a big bed for a reason. You go way over there. It's safer. You don't have to smell it.
Well, you said we said I'm the eye candy for the show. So, I mean, as sexy as I am, can you imagine if I was sexy and romantic? I mean, my wife, she wouldn't know what to do. So she can't be romantic.
Yeah, Cheyenne will love that.
Anyway, yeah, she'll never see this.
Yeah, that's what we say. And then all of a sudden I get comments from her. It's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's jump into the topics. This Super Bowl, because of the COVID situation, we're going to look back in the 15, 20 years and remember that was the one that we got that was so unusual and so different, where they did a setup in the stands and they did a performance there and on the field, but they couldn't do the setup as typical because people couldn't be working like they would typically do.
Right.
Thoughts? What did you see? What did you experience? And what was it like?
Well, it was different in a lot of ways, but every year the Super Bowl halftime show is different. I think, I kind of enjoyed the visual effects. I thought they did a good job with that. I liked the thematic angles of it. It was a little trippy. I'm not sure about some of the camera lenses and things, but it's artistic and it was stylized. I understand the Weeknd put like $9 million of his own money into it.
I know. I heard that. It's like, holy cats.
And kudos to him. I mean, that's dedication to your craft, to have a vision, to say, this is what I want. And I'm going to put my own money behind it. I think a lot of people wanted to talk about the audio in particular. And a lot of people, I mean, the forums really went crazy with that. And so I have some thoughts on that. I think one, it was disappointing. It isn't, it isn't an audio product that I would have been happy with. But I want to say too, in all sincerity, because there were several people who said, "Oh, you should have had Ben Stowe do the audio," and I kind of laughed about that. But listen, they don't put in the B team for the Super Bowl, so I don't know how we got to the result we got to, but I am certain that the engineers that were working were very good engineers. I'm certain that they are very capable and talented people. How that result came about, I don't know, because I agree, it wasn't a mix that I would have wanted my name on. But I think it's important to note, and this is a really good segue. And then I'll tie this to quarterbacks in a second. But, there's a really good segue to say that, mixing live and mixing for broadcast are very, very different things. And as we're almost 9 months late having this conversation because so many people have been doing live streaming broadcasting. And they are two different engineers and there's two different mixes. And a lot of that, of course, is pre-recorded out of necessity. So it does sort of baffle you as to how we kind of got the product we did a little bit. But and in fact, I'll just make my quarterback analogy now. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are far better quarterbacks than I would ever be, and far better quarterbacks than anybody watching this show. That's a fact. Yet, we have no problem armchair quarterbacking them, right? We have no problem sitting there and saying, "Oh, this is terrible this is terrible that," even though they're so much better. And I think we're doing that same thing to these audio engineers. I think most of the people complaining could certainly not do the job. So on one hand, you could say, hey, it's really unfair to lob those insults at these audio engineers when you are not on their level. On the other hand, though, you know what? When you're Tom Brady and you're Patrick Mahomes, you got to win games. You got to throw the ball. If you're a professional kicker, you got to make the kick. So at the same time, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know what happened. But again, I'm sure that guy or gal, whoever it was that mixed it, went home and didn't feel good about it. I don't know. So two things from that. One, mixing for broadcast, very different. Why? Because your viewers are in a vacuum. But that's why TV trucks are basically a vacuum. All that audio is coming through a set of studio monitors, and they're trying to mix it for whatever playback device you're going to be listening on, whether that be a mono source or a stereo source or surround sound or whatever. There's a lot of moving parts here, 3-inch, speakers on your TV or, a Rockin' home stereo system or your headphones. So we could actually take a pretty deep dive into some of the nuances of mixing for broadcast.
Well, so has mixing for broadcast, has it changed? Would a person who's mixing today mix differently than, say, and specifically equalizing and such, than 30 years ago?
Absolutely.
And what kind of changes what would be the main differences if you were going to compare and contrast from 30 to 40 years ago to today, some of the things they're doing?
Well, the devices, the audio devices are so much better. The TVs and things are so much better than what we had 30 years ago. Going back a little bit further than that, you basically have one small mono speaker on a TV. You remember when it used to be a big deal, it would show up on your screen in stereo. That would actually show up on the screen. It would say in stereo. That was a big deal. But what happens to your stereo source when you mix it down to mono? What happens if we start having some cancellation and that sort of, you have to be thinking really carefully about the phase correlation here. And the other thing is, and again, I keep saying mixing in a vacuum, but a friend of mine used to be the chief audio engineer for Oral Roberts TV. And he talked about this awesome upgrade they got, $1 million upgrade to their multi-million dollar, probably to their, studio. And they had these fantastic big, studio reference monitors, cost what a car does, sound amazing. He goes, first thing we did was rip those out and put an old TV in there because that's what everybody was watching it on, was an old TV.
Yeah.
So, because, you basically take your mix in these studio monitors and you're like, that sounds great. And then you go listen to it on the TV and you're like, that sounds terrible. So the the viewers feeling is the mix is terrible. And it is for their device. So you have to mix in context. And yeah, that definitely has changed, in terms of the devices, their audio ability, and the vast multitude of devices available. Are you watching it on a phone? Are you watching it on a computer? Are you watching it on a TV?
So then obviously not only does the quality of the sound with stereo with that, but frequencies. I'm guessing when we were back with this single, that one speaker in front of the little 19-inch TV, they probably weren't worried about lower bass frequency. And now today, because half the people are running a subwoofer, I'm guessing that's a different world.
But yeah, you have to kind of think about both ways, because an iPhone really doesn't have anything, below 400 hertz coming out of the phone itself. So if you're listening to a phone, and I've got some smart screenshots or some audio reference measurements here of iPhones, and it's also really different. Is the iPhone laying flat on a table? Is it propped up at 45 degrees? Is it against a wall? Or there's all these things that really just try it, viewers. Take your phone, play a song, and lay it flat, lift it up, hold it up in the air, cup your hands around it, and think about how many different ways that sounds now, that device. So if somebody's listening to it there, you're not going to have any of that real low end bass stuff. So if you want to have some definition in the kick drum, you want to have articulation and things in bass guitar, you're going to have to do it somewhere else, because you don't have 50 to 400 to work with. Mm-hmm. It's not there. At the same time, you still have to have that content, because if people put in their AirPods or their headphones, or they listen to it on a home theater, now you do have that low frequency content there. So these mastering guys earn their money. There's no question. In order to make that song kind of work in those multiple scenarios, that's a tough gig. So
there's our broadcast.
That clearly wasn't the problem the Weeknd had. The Weeknd's problems were pretty much exclusively with the vocals, but that's a different story.
So we've got our broadcast, whether that's over the air broadcast or streaming world. Now, how is that different when it comes to a live mixing situation?
Well, here's a really good example. So I took a festival that I mixed live, and I had recorded the tracks, and I used that to create some mix downs for a class I was teaching on streaming. And I remembered this festival, and of course there I have one PA, and I've got tons of low energy. I got all the subwoofer I could want, and I can hear this in real time. So I can hear what I'm mixing on the device I'm mixing it for. Everybody else is hearing it on the same device I am. So in a lot of ways, I think that's easier. And maybe I think it's easier because I'm comfortable with that. That's something I've done many times. But I find mixing for broadcast harder because of all the unknowns. What are they listening it on? Is it mono? Is it stereo? Is it an iPhone? Does it have a subwoofer? Does it not? There's all these things you have to sort of think about. So we spend a lot of time thinking about, space. And I think about space in a live mix too. Things should look how they sound and sound how they look. But here it's about making things all kind of fit and then not be a problem if it's compressed back to mono. So here's a good example of some of the pitfalls here. One, when I mix live, I like to mix kind of vocals forward, which is ironic, because that was the big complaint about the Weeknd. But I like to have those vocals out front. Now, right. I will say this again. No idea how we got to that result, and I'm not going to dog the engineers because I wasn't there, and they're probably better than me, and I will say that publicly. Mm-hmm. There's certainly better broadcast mix engineers than me because that's their gig,
that's
right?
What they do. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even going to pretend like so I don't know how they got where they got, but I don't think it's because they're not good at their job. I don't know. There's a pecking order there. If management or somebody up the food chain is telling you to turn it down, you're going to turn it down and you're going to do what you're told. And again, don't know. So same for me. If the artist is telling me not to mix vocals forward, I'm not going to. It's the artist's set. It's their stage. I'm there to work for them. But I tend to try to like to mix vocals forward. I like to have good, clear vocals. So you mix this in a way that the vocals are cutting through and they're clear, but everything is still kind of blended and balanced. You've got all this low frequency energy from the subwoofers and everything else. It all kind of comes together and it sounds like a song. Well, when you take and play that back, exactly as I've mixed it live, I played it back on my iPhone, and it was like a vocal flamethrower. The vocals were screaming, and it didn't sound good at all. And of course, because there's no low frequency, you have a phone which is designed to project the voice, so the EQ of everything is wrong, and those vocals are just like in your face. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. And so I looked at, and I wish I had prepared this in a way that I could show you tonight easily, but I've got kind of a comparison of here's my live mix, and there's a lot more things happening in the broadcast mix too with compressions. Really can be your friend. And so I'm like, here's my live mix. Here's my broadcast mix of the same exact tracks recorded at the same time. It's very different. It's very, very different.
I guess I wouldn't have imagined that would be the case that noticeably.
You wouldn't think. And like I said, I went through the process in preparation to teach the class. And again, I talked to my friend formerly from Oral Roberts, and I talked to some other friends, who work in broadcasts, and they were a big help for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of gotchas there. So
you're saying it's not just set the EQ to a smiley face?
Rarely. That's rarely a good idea.
Not a good idea. Not that much.
The thing that befuddles me about the Super Bowl in particular is that given the substantial restrictions in time, you have about 6 minutes to get everything set up. And granted, it's a lot of things are preset, but there are hundreds of channels of audio patch involved, and there's a lot of moving parts. But you have about 6 minutes to get things, set, and about 6 minutes to get them struck and make them disappear off the field so it's a football game again, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff is pre-recorded. And certainly in the Weeknd's case, we didn't see, it was primarily him. And I thought, how did we get to this result? Because again, in a studio, you more or less can perfect that mix for broadcast and then just roll it back. But again, I know there was live elements to it too. And I heard it sounded good in the stadium. So it's just one of those things. I don't know, sort of do a post-mortem on it, but.
So one of the questions as I was watching it is he had, let's say it wasn't pre-recorded, that the audio or vocal was coming through microphones. He had a microphone that he used up in the stands there where he was doing his things in the kind of hallways, and then he had on the field. If you were sitting and doing audio for something like that, would you be able to do that with one microphone, or are you talking that this would a person need to have multiple microphones because of, in essence, him being in zoned areas?
Well, it's wireless, and it's going to work pretty much anywhere in that stadium, more or less. But it could have been multiple microphones. And basically, I guess what I'm saying is it could be done either way.
Okay.
But from an engineering standpoint, if he's got 3 microphones, so what?
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But I was just wondering if one microphone could be reliable enough to be able to work in a cement or concrete hallway, to be able to work up in the stands way up there, and then to be able to work down on a football field with equal reliability.
Well, there's ways you can do like distributed antenna networks and things to create coverage in additional areas. Now you create some problems potentially with RF too, but these guys are smart enough to know how to do that and make it work. So it could have been. I couldn't even speculate if it was or wasn't. Probably for simplicity, I might use multiple mics. But again, these guys are pros, and I'm not sure. How they did it.
I
might try to find out. I'm curious now.
Yeah, it's irrelevant, I guess. But it was just I was just wondering how difficult would it be to make that happen if a person were going to use one microphone and go that route.
It could be done. But yeah, many times in a live show we have more than one mic for the lead anyway. Almost always we have at least a spare. And that's sometimes done different ways. Sometimes it comes in the console as 2 different channels completely. Other times it's a matter of, there's macros that can just switch the socket so that all of your EQ and everything is the same. And this console says, okay, instead of pulling from socket 47, I'm going to pull from socket 48 now. 47 died, I'm going to pull from 47. Everything else is here. There's all kinds of ways you can do that. But with a lead, and particularly for the Super Bowl, I guarantee you they had more than one mic for him. Whether or not they used more than one, I guarantee you they had more than one.
For sure. They would have definitely. In a large stadium like that, if you're on the field, I've at baseball games when I've been kind of down on, and they're making announcements, there's this echo, there's this latency. At a stadium like that, I'm thinking that if he's singing on the field, there's going to be some lag and latency. And yet when you watched things, he looked like he was lip syncing right on to those points. How are they achieving that when there's this noise going on up here, that he's able to keep himself on basically on cue with the music, which is maybe a second late up there?
At least, yeah. That's I've experienced that many times in stadiums with national anthems and that sort of thing. That the singers are hearing the stadium PA hundreds of milliseconds late, and that's very disrupting. So, basically the advice we give them is, particularly in these smaller stadiums where they don't have the resources he does. And I'll answer how I think he would have done it. But first I'll say that this happens a lot. Think like, Bemidji State's football stadium, and high school, student gets to sing the national anthem or something. They're not a professional, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they have to, hear themselves 300, milliseconds or whatever away, because, speakers are 300 feet away. You just have to tell them to ignore it. Just say, don't listen to it. Just sing, think forward, not back, just sing. And that's hard. That's really hard to do. I think, for him, there's two things. One, he's wearing in-ear monitors. And there's virtually zero latency on radio. He's getting that instantly through that RF. So that's where he's at. And two, practice and rehearse and just ignore everything besides this. Just focus on what you're doing, and don't allow yourself to be drawn, to those disrupting factors. It kind of reminds me of a time I used to play in a drum and bugle corps, 100 years ago, same as the wrestling toga fig leaf time, but whatever. Anyway. And I remember us playing in a university dome, which was largely concrete and steel. And they told us, they said, if you lose your spot, just fold your sticks on your drum and stop, because you will never find your spot again. And it was crazy. They were right. Particularly in fast paced, when you're playing, drum corps cadence type thing, it's just a din. There's, if you had a single stroke, you would hear, well, now take that and multiply it, towards every stroke of every drum. And it was just a roar. You really couldn't tell what you were playing or where you were at in the dome. It was crazy.
Yeah, I suppose that
particularly being down on the field, you get a bit of the parabola effect of the dome itself, reflections off that parabola shaped dome. It was just bonkers. So yeah, to your point, I think he just is going to have to focus on what's in his ears and ignore everything else, plain and simple.
And hopefully that cuts it out. And
they do a good job. Yeah, they do a good job. And again, he's a pro, it wasn't, you don't let a guy who's only done, karaoke and bar gigs do the Super Bowl. He's done a few stadiums, so
he's done it once before, so he'll be good. Oh, excellent. We got a nice crowd with us tonight. Thank you guys for being with. Up next at the top of the hour, I'm going to put the link here. Brian and Jay are going to be coming in about 20 minutes roughly at djntv.com/chill. And the guys are going to be hanging out and recording a little episode that'll go live on YouTube and Facebook later this week. And you guys can go join them tonight and talk shop. Generally, their show starts at 10 o'clock. They record a 20-minute half-hour session. And sometime about 4 or 5 in the morning is when it wraps up. Yes, 4 or 5 in the morning.
You mean we could have recorded this and I could have been prepared and had the food pictures ready and I could have,
yeah, well, that's what we
could have edited this.
We could have edited it down. Yes, we could have made that, we could have done that little fat.
Who are we to criticize their live show? We can't even get our act together here. This is, never mind the weekends, Mike. How about the fact that I can't run a computer?
Robin was wondering if you had gotten hit in the chin with a snowball, if that's what that,
Yeah, it was white paint.
Oh, white paint. Yeah.
It was white. We were playing paintball, and the other team had white. I took one right to the face, but I didn't cry.
No, you were tough.
I didn't cry at all.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. I like to hear the toughness. Well, excellent. We're going to wrap things up here for tonight, so you guys can get ready for Jay and Brian here in about 20 minutes, and go in there and have a little pre-show discussion with them. And then I think is it next week? I think next Tuesday we'll be back. And hopefully we can talk intelligently about gear, electronics.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll come up with something for you guys. And that's something somebody had asked the other day, and it was before Freddie. Tonight's topic was Freddie wanted to have us get into this, so thank you, Freddie, for that. Somebody
had questions, we'll answer them.
Yeah, exactly. If there's something that you like, hey, can you guys tackle that discussion? Even if we've talked about it before, we can always pretend like we forgot the first one.
We never get tired of hearing ourselves talk. So.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest and most fun things ever. So if you got something, reach out. Hey, Jay's with us. Thank you, Jay. Jump in there and hang out with Jay and Brian. Chat room if you got any questions, and we will catch you guys next time. Good night, everybody.